Good evening. A call to order a common city council meeting for the city of Brookings for Monday, August 26th, 2024, 7 p.m. Let's rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councillor Holmberg.
Here.
Councillor Pareda.
Here.
Councillor Martin.
Here.
Councillor Fulton. Here. Mayor Hodges.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item D, ceremonies, appointments, and announcements. We have Yard of the Month Award. Who attended that this last
That was
month?
Mr. Tim Rundle, the city manager.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, beautiful, beautiful place.
All right, and that was, looks like Gavin Court. No commercial this month?
No, not this month.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for that. Move on to agenda item E, a scheduled public appearance. Mr. Ron Schneerson, if you want to step forward. And just as a reminder, this is a scheduled public appearance, so you have a 10-minute time limit.
I'll do my best.
Thank you.
Ron Schneerson, 111 Schooner Bay Drive, just for the record. Hello again. I was here a few months ago to talk about this concept of a committee on public art for Brookings, and thought it'd be a good time to come back, bring some of my friends, and kind of give you an update and talk about the latest and greatest. So I'd like to start with our mission, why we're here. We can go to the next. Essentially, we're here to strengthen the vitality of our town. Culturally, socially, economically, through art, we're trying to communicate an identity of Brookings and let people know that there's something here to stop for, engage them, maybe draw them to different parts of our town. And we're going to do that with public art, city-owned art, as well as something we're calling an art encounter, which is kind of like consignment art. It would be positioned throughout town and for sale, where part of the proceeds would go back to the city. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. I want to introduce you to our expanding committee. A couple people couldn't make it tonight, but I'd like to communicate with you Mary Stanford, who is also the president of the Manly, the Manly Art Center. Her primary role is going to ensure that we have a good two-way communication with the art community, make sure we have good input, that we're getting support from the art community, and we're on the right track from an artistic standpoint. She'll also be really key when it comes to calls for art, to make sure we're speaking in the right artistic language to meet our objectives. We also have Michelle Boobert, who she, among other things, runs the County Chamber of Commerce. So similarly, she's going to make sure we have really good two-way communication with the business community. We want to get the business community's support as well as the broader public. But she's going to be on point for the businesses in our community. And then Stacy Reynolds, who is here. Stacy, her real job, she is with the Oregon Coast Visitors Association. So she has a lot of expertise when it comes to all the agencies throughout the state that we may be able to leverage that can help us achieve our goals when it comes to public art. So she's going to be invaluable in that regard. I'm the chairperson, so I'm kind of the engine that's going to make sure that we continue to have some momentum and keep moving things forward, and generally, support the rest of the members and do a lot of public outreach. What you see, and I guess we're behind a slide. Past presenters always say, next slide, next slide. And I thought, I'm not going to do that. She's just going to know. So I'll make sure I'm looking over at you, Brooklyn. On the last line item that a little easier to see on this screen is an ad hoc public works liaison. So this is someone that we need in our committee, but I call it ad hoc because we know the city has a lot of other priorities, and we're going to do everything we can to be as least resource intensive as possible by only minimally calling on a liaison that's on staff that can help us identify locations that can be committed to art, maybe 4x4 square foot land, just spots where we can have sculptures or statues or things of that nature, or walls for murals and that kind of thing. We also need the support of the city to be able to receive artwork, to have it installed, maintained, things like that. And also we're kind of envisioning this person to be kind of our liaison into the leadership for the community, you all. Going on to the next slide, I'd like to share with you that we have two different strategies. So primarily, you're going to start out with permanently like city-owned art. These would be pieces the city will own that might be like somewhere around 6 locations, anchors, if you will, throughout town that are going to be kind of the initial impact that we want to make as people are driving in or out of town, locations we want to draw them to, impressions we want to leave them with. And then the second strategy is our art encounter that I mentioned. So this is consignment art that will be sprinkled throughout the city, intertwined with these anchor points. And these will be rotating pieces of art that might be in place for, say, 24 months. They will be for sale to the public, and approximately 30 or 40% of that sale price would go back to the city to further support the art program. When we do calls for art for these pieces, it's going to be a region or even national. They're going to have kind of a broad net, but we want to prioritize local artists. So that's kind of our intention. On the next slide, just a little bit about how we're going to pay for this. So a lot of work needs to go into this still. So, there may be some budget within the city that we're always looking to leverage. But again, we're looking at other agencies around the state, other opportunities for funding, grants, and so on. We want to open up public donations. We're working on leveraging existing 501Cs. I have the Chamber of Commerce up there kind of grayed out, so that's kind of aspirational. Next year we'll be pursuing that. That may or may not come through. But these are things that we're working on and would love your support on. On the next slide, I want to highlight that we talked about a lot of different art in a lot of different places throughout the city. We want to make sure there's some continuity or a kind of an overarching theme. So in each location, as part of the process before we get to a call to artists, is defining an objective and what are we really trying to do with this location? Is it an impression we're trying to make? Are we trying to draw people in? Do we want something for them to stop and interact with? That sort of thing. But all of it needs to have some kind of continuity or it's going to be a little convoluted. So this is an overall theme that will be communicated to artists. That theme being the gateway to the Pacific Northwest. And so with that kind of inspiration, if you will, is for the artist to kind of picture Brookings as part of the Pacific Northwest, but we're the initial gateway that you go through and kind of begin your journey of exploration of the Pacific Northwest. So with that, an artist can highlight our biodiversity, the different activities that we have to offer, historical peoples and events, that sort of thing, but all under that kind of overarching theme. So how do we make this happen? So some things need to come into place. Firstly, is you all need to determine if you want to leverage this committee as your source to deliver art for the public. So if you find this kind of structure, this construct works for you, then you can leverage our standalone committee with staff help And once you assign that ad hoc committee member to support us, identify any budget that may or may not exist, then we can really start running with this. We can start to identify our initial location and identify the objectives of that and just kind of focus on that one initial starting place and have a lot of lessons learned and try to replicate that as we go. Once we get that ball rolling, then we can focus on the consignment art, the art encounter, and define that process a little further. So hopefully that sits well with you, and I'd like to open it up to questions.
Thank you. Any comments, questions?
For the city council, mayor, or city manager. Oh, okay, yeah, great idea. Very popular dynamic here, this Committee on Public Art. We're not, inventing the wheel here. This has been done in a lot of different cities, Newport, Florence, all up and down the coast, and really across the nation. We have lots of examples to leverage, if you will. And yeah, with that, I'll open up to questions.
Well, I just really appreciate you coming forward, and I think that there's been some discussion, at some of the workshop meetings about, how do we incorporate, community art into the downtown area, and how do we, focus on a theme, and I think that this is a really good opportunity to get some feedback from the public on that. So I appreciate you coming forward.
Well, I appreciate your enthusiasm for this. I think it's a great idea. I'm glad that you have a lot of people involved with this. And I think the city should support this financially. I see this as a way to draw tourists and then keep tourists here, people that are traveling through, getting them to stop and spending more time and supporting local businesses and doing so. And I believe in our current budget, we have money for downtown improvements. We have an art budget, and we have other tourism funds. So I think I think the city I support using city funds to help get this started. And I think we have funding in our current budget and in the future budget cycles as well. But I'm impressed with what you presented so far. You have my support.
Yeah, I'll just add that a lot of traveling this summer, and at each place we went, there were some common things, and one of the most common things was art in each of those cities, the richness and the diversity that it brings. So thank you for coming here and giving us some more information and seeing if we can move forward.
You guys already know that I've had a previous conversation with Ron, and I personally am very excited about the possibility of bringing this to our community. I too often visit either theaters or different public art pieces when I travel, and as soon as you mentioned the Dalles, is that how you say the name of that town?
It was either Dallas or the Dalles, which one of them?
The Dalles, it is, because I went home and looked it up immediately and figured out where is it, and it's not that far from Portland, and we actually were just there this weekend to watch a show. So I do believe that this is a very important part of our tourism, and we know that as our community has evolved, that's becoming a very important economy for us. And through the conversation I had with Ron, he put me in touch with someone who had been instrumental in the Public Arts Committee in Florence, who now happens to be a city councilor. And she provided me with an impact study, a financial impact study from 2022 for the city of Florence. And it really is amazing the financial impact that the arts has had on their community. Something like $7 million in 2022 was brought into Florence. And largely that is not necessarily financial dollars to the government, but to our businesses. And I think this is a way that we can hopefully draw some revenue to. We've talked many times about how our small businesses need support during the off-season. And so if we can use some of these ways to leverage more tourism during that off-season, I think that would be very much to our benefit.
And I agree with everything everyone said. Yeah, I was sort of interested in what we were speaking of with the Dowels was a mural project across the city on large open walls, which was really neat. And I think we have a fairly decent mural artist in our town that Stacy might know, but or artist in general. But that being said, I think everything everyone said was spot on. I would just throw a couple recommendations out there, which is making sure that it's open as a committee to people if they want to participate, to be able to know, like to know that it's out there and open. And then that theme, I think that's hugely important. And I agree with the pieces you put up there, the history of the area. I think that's a great theme. I love the gateway to the Northwest. But the more people you have, or the more opportunity people have had to be a part of that later on down the line, you can say, hey, we put it out there and this is what we all agreed on. And usually it's just a little more unifying. And maybe you've done that and I just haven't really, seen that. But I would highly recommend making sure it's open for everyone if they want to be a part of it, and then narrowing it down from there. But I appreciate all of the energy and effort and thought, and just putting these things together to get something to present is a big deal, and you did well. So my support for sure.
Well, before I do a lot more public outreach and involve a lot more people in this greater visibility, I wanted to come here tonight and make sure that we have your support, and that we can have the Public Works Department help us identify and commit spaces for art. So without that, I don't think we can really do anything.
Well, I know you're talking art and art pieces, but previously we've heard murals. And I know you have one good spot down at Checo Point that you'd like to start out at.
Well, I think you got input from Brett Curtis, who did a survey along with others of the businesses, and they really like murals, and I think murals are great. We don't want to limit ourselves, however. So with that, I don't know, now's the time and place, or a workshop, or follows up. But if we didn't get to a point where you could say, yes, Ron, you guys can call so-and-so Public Works if they're going to help you, then we can really hit the ground running.
You can call my office and we'll ensure that happens.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know Ron told me that this idea was sparked by being at Checo Point and suddenly seeing this public work of art displayed. And I got to be a part of that.
Two rivers and part of the ocean.
Right, and I got to be a part of that day where they dedicated it, and it was, Tony mentioned how challenging it was to get somebody out there, but they managed to get that figured out and worked out, and it's not an easy spot to get to. So I think that's a great starting point for this project in our community. So
I'm going to leave you with some summary pages, and thank you for your time.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on next to agenda item F, oral requests and communications from the audience. And I have one, is that correct? I had a blank one.
Oh, then yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna try this, Laura or Lori Goldberg? Laura, okay. And please just your name, address, and then you have a 5-minute limit.
Thank you. Laura Goldberg, 111 Spooner Bay Drive. Thank you very much. This will be short. But having lived here full-time for about 4 years now, I've been to about 2 years of board meetings. I just want to thank all of you for stepping up and dealing with a lot of challenges that you really needed to deal with and make a positive direction towards. And the weekend before last, having attended the Wild Rivers Film Festival, I had the pleasure of seeing our new city manager's short film called BCATS, which, if any of you haven't seen that yet, the Bennington County Alternative Transportation Society. And what a wonderful insight into our new city manager and who he is and what he stands for. And I just want to commend all of you on the effort that it must have taken to get someone like Tim Rendell in here. And if any of you haven't seen that movie, it's just so wonderful. And I just have such a positive, optimistic outlook for our future. And I just want to thank all of you for bringing that here to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item G, consent calendar. Number 1, to approve council minutes for July 22nd, 2024. And we can do all these together, correct?
Yes.
Okay, number 2, to accept Parks and Recreation minutes for March 28th, 2024. To receive monthly financial report for July 2024. And number 4, to approve the liquor license for mobile vendor Fire Brothers Barbecue and Grill.
I have a question about it before we make a motion, just out of curiosity. On a food cart or a mobile vendor, when we approve a liquor license, is that just for within the city limits, or is that a state liquor license for anywhere?
OLCC would attach a liquor license anywhere, but if they're operating in the city, we have to approve it in the city.
And could they use that elsewhere, beyond the city's jurisdiction?
Well, if they're in the city, they have to have approval from us. I don't know about the county.
Okay, and that was just out of curiosity. I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Call the question?
Counselor Morton.
Yes.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Freda.
Yes.
Counselor Mulford.
Yes.
Mayor Condon.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right, moving on to letter H, staff reports, public hearing, ordinances, resolutions, and final orders. Municipal pool resurfacing contract. That be you, Tony?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor Hodges, members of the council. This is sort of a little bit of a long time coming. We've talked about it at budget. We knew this was coming this year. Finally went out for bid, and bid results were Mid-American Pool came in just slightly under Northwest Pool and Excavation. We typically do a resurface of the pool every 5 to 8 years. We're right on the top end of that right now. It's due to be done. The pool was constructed, I think, in 1972. So it's been done several times. And this go around, there's a couple additional things we're going to do because it's due, which is retiling the race lines, retiling the water line, and then we're also going to put a, I think it's a surfacing on the coping, which is that first 1.5 foot before you step into the pool. It's getting pretty eroded. Some exposed rebar inside, so we're going to get that recoated as well. I think that was it. And we're also adding a stair. I don't know if you've been to the pool, and we flip down into the water a fiberglass a stair that goes down in there, and it gets pretty banged up. So we're actually going to build a permanent step out with a handrail. That's part of this project as well. So it's a nice upgrade. Yep.
And I know there was a question prior to this in regards to the actual, what we had budgeted and how we got our estimates. And I believe, Tony, was it at $320,000 was the original budget for this project, I believe.
Right.
And his original quote, I guess you say, or for this was, or kind of was what you said you asked one company to.
Yeah, Mid-American Pool provided a little bit over a year ago. They provided an estimate.
An estimate, yes.
For the project. I use their number for budget purposes.
Okay.
And that was, I think it was over a year ago.
So are we choosing a particular option of the white plaster or the interglass?
No, that was, they provided that. That's not something that I asked them to do. I think they were trying to upsell. We've always plastered the pool. We've never used any other product than plaster, so I'm not 100%, sure of the interglass. It's not in our budget to do that.
Well,
But there are other parts of the interglass that I'm not familiar with, so I'm like I say, I'm just going with what we've always done, which is plaster.
okay,
So it's an outdoor pool. I don't know, what it means to do that system, so.
that was my question was why, like when I looked at the bid number that you provided, it was clear to me that you were going with the white plaster. And I was curious as to why that was, because I'm guessing if there's a 25-year warranty on the inner glass, then that's not a required thing to be resurfaced and replaced again every 6 to 8 years like it's being done now, that's a 25-year plus product.
Yeah, and you could treat it like your tires too. Tires come with warranties and they have proration, and so I don't know anything about the interglass product. I know that we've always plastered.
Okay.
So-
Well, the reason why I'm asking that question is because I did a little bit of breakdown of the numbers, and for $54,000 more, if we don't have to do this project again for another 25 years, we can save the taxpayers somewhere between $500,000 and $700,000 if we spend the $54,000 now and don't have to keep repeating this process every 6 to 8 years. So personally, I think it's more fiscally responsible if we can get enough information to know what this process looks like to move in that direction instead of the plaster and not have to continue to redo this every 6 to 8 years. If we have something that will last 25 years and is a better, more durable product, we can, in the end, save a lot of money over time.
That was one of the questions I had as well. If Northwest Pool and excavation, when we're talking, do they even do the white inner glass? What's the pros, what's the cons? Can we get some of that information to be able to help? I mean, obviously we need to do it. I use the pool quite often. I love it. But it would be nice to save our taxpayers quite a bit of money in the long run.
Well, and that was part of the reason why I wanted to know what we had budgeted for, because if we do the tile gutter, the building the steps, and the texture deck, take those prices along with the inner glass, the total is $317,800. So it's still within the range of what was used in the budget estimate.
There is a approximately $15,000 upgrade to the light system that we're going to do as well. But they're not doing it, it's electrician, which is part of the budget as well.
So that was budgeted, so 320 wasn't really what was budgeted for the pool.
But yeah, 320 was, but it included the lights.
For everything, including the lights.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can adjust the motion to add the inner glass if you want, so that at least it gets approved now. But this project is slated to start on the 9th. So,
Yeah,
and they have 1 month to do this work, so we need to make that decision now. But
Seems
I
like-
went with the plaster because it's what we've always done.
It seems like, just based off of the information that was provided, that one of the leading causes of needing to resurface a pool so often is rainwater getting into the pool and messing with the chemical alkalinity, and it wears down the surface. And And so, my question, and I'm always going to advocate for how can we figure out a way to get that pool covered. I think a lot of people for a lot of years have talked about that, and I'm going to keep hammering on that. And I hope one day we can get to that point. But if we're not going to do that right away, and it's not in the budget to cover the pool, and we're just going to be back in the same boat again 5 years from now, maybe it is money forward to look at the Interglass and save ourselves a little bit of money in the long run. That being said, hey, if it's not in the budget, we need to have a more serious conversation about what we would need to cut to do that. Then maybe that's another conversation we should have. But I'm cautious about saying let's go for it. Great, but hey, if there's not money in the bank, there's not money in the bank. So we need to be real about that too. So.
Tony, can we come back on our next council meeting is the 9th, and that's when they're wanting to.
That's the day
That's the day that they're starting.
I know, but I'm just saying if we had an approval that evening, if we wanted to make an adjustment.
Well, you can adjust the motion now. We
if you wanted
can
to.
adjust the motion now to add the Interglass, and then, like I say, I can always look in, dive into it deeper with them and find out if we can switch to that. And I need to better understand the differences because, we are unique. We're an outdoor pool in the Northwest, a lot of rain. There's a lot of issues there. So I need to make sure that it's going to be the right product. Again, it's not something that we've done before. I hate to be the first one to do it and have it not turn out right. So.
Right, and when I read through the proposal, it talked about the naturally high alkaline and porous makeup of the plaster is one of the disadvantages to doing that, and that it actually saves on chemicals and doesn't have that alkaline issues when you do the Interglass. So it seems to me there'll be less wear and tear, and maybe that's not right, but just again, based on what I was reading, and I tried to do some additional research and reading also onto the Interglass and really couldn't find anything except through this company. But
Yes, it's a sales pitch. It really is. But I could vet it if you guys want to go that direction.
well, and maybe get some discussion from people who have used the product to see how does it really wear. Just seems a better use of money to spend a little bit more money now and save us a lot of money in the long run.
What if we made a motion, approved a motion for the city manager to execute the contract up to $370,800, give you two a chance to do some research, and then if it just doesn't work, then go with the original plan.
Right. That's what I was suggesting, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
You want to make that motion?
I'm going to make that motion. One more comment. I just wanted to thank the city staff and also the South Coast Aquatics for their work with the pool. I remember lots of days during grade school, spending summer days at the city pool, and it's great that the pool slowly getting better, and we have a real good group of volunteers to make some big improvements, and then hopefully in the future, the near future, the council can try to find a way to make a major improvement of covering it and making that a priority, as soon as the next budget cycle. But in the meantime,
Before you make that motion, since we're talking about it, how amazing it is that many of our high school students are lifeguards, swim instructors, and everything else. It's really a big community piece, and we're so glad that we have it.
Yeah, both my kids were lifeguards at the pool for a couple of years each during high school, and it was really good for them. And I'm a big supporter of the pool, and I also really appreciate the help that we're getting from South Coast Aquatics.
I move to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Mid-American Pool Renovation for resurfacing work at the municipal pool in the amount of up to $317,800.
I second.
Call the question?
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Pareja.
Yes.
Counselor Mulder.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right, moving on to letter I, informational non-action items. Let's review the July 2024 vouchers. If there's no comments or remarks on that. Any remarks from councilors, mayor, or city manager?
Start. Next month is September, and it is our Suicide Awareness Month. So it serves as a reminder of the importance of mental health by challenging the stigma and misconceptions around mental health and suicide. Stigma can be a significant deterrent to individuals seeking help and can exacerbate their struggles and potentially lead to some pretty tragic outcomes. September is about promoting understanding and empathy. We need to create an environment where people feel safe and comfortable discussing their mental health challenges. Seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness, and mental health is just as important as our physical health. I hope those that can offer the opportunity to educate and advocate for those affected by suicide do so, and that others empathize and work to find solutions to decrease the number of people who feel hopeless. Thank you.
I have a comment, a concern, and probably a controversial position on this, but I was reading the city manager's Five for Friday, and it mentioned the county had reached out to the city manager about law enforcement outside the city, about lack of coverage, and talking about, this is the county again approaching the city about this, about win-win solutions for this. But it's unfortunate that the tax measure, the tax levy failed. I think our priorities need to be with city funds, the people of the city of Brookings who are already paying a substantial amount for public safety, and our law enforcement agency in the city does an extraordinary job. And the people outside the city limits aren't willing to pay for that. So unfortunately, they're having to live with that. And I don't see a lot of win-win situations for taxpayers in the city. And on the same line, I think it's, if we look at city residents and what the people of Brookings that live inside the city limits pay for county government, are they getting a good return on their tax dollars? And I don't think they are. And it's probably time that the community and the county takes a really hard look at of trying to merge with another county. You know, why is the majority of the people of the city of Brookings paying the majority of these taxes for they're not getting much back? But if the biggest part of the budget is the assessor's office and the treasurer's office and the county commissioners, maybe we're better off as a county looking at trying to merge with Coos County or Josephine County and eliminating the need for services that don't provide any law enforcement. Up the coast, Douglas County includes Reedsport, Lane County includes Florence, and the people there have good law enforcement coverage in and outside the cities because they have a county that serves a larger area. But I just want to make sure when city staff has conversations with the county that, and obviously they are putting the city as a priority and watching out for the taxpayers, but you know, there aren't as many benefits for using city resources outside the city limits. And I don't see a lot of win-win situations either.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just want to thank all of those in our community who are willing to put in their time and efforts and energies on to things that they want to see in our community and feel passionate about. I don't believe that we can realize the things we want to see in our community without all of us working together. I think we need to be unified as citizens, as business, as council and staff to work towards those common goals. And I think it's going to take all of us putting in efforts and energies and our time. And so I'm appreciative to those who take it on themselves to pick those mantles up and carry them forward. So thanks for being here. I appreciate that. Another thing that I've been thinking about for a while is I would love to see us host a welcome day for our new city manager, where we could invite the public to come, the businesses to come and meet Mr. Rundell, and I would be happy to. I never want to put extra work on city staff. I would love to be a help and be involved in that in any way I could. So if everybody else is in agreement, I would really love to see that that's something that we do quickly.
Yeah, I would support you doing that.
Okay. Totally. I mean, seriously, it's my idea, and I'm totally happy to do it.
No, I think it's a great idea. I do. Councilor Malberg?
Yeah, I was recently able to attend the Curry campus presentation for SWAC on with our city manager. And I really liked a lot of the things they had to say. Some of the things that they had mentioned that they're doing to improve opportunities for vocational education within our community. And I'm hopeful that they continue to move towards offering more opportunities in that manner. There was mention of heavy equipment operator training and healthcare training, but hoping that they keep moving forward with that. That's the only comment I had. So.
I did have one more thing. I attended just this last week the South Coast Region meeting for League of Oregon Cities. And it was all based on revenue, and they're really, they've hired a consulting agency to come in and do a lot of research, public outreach, and trying to contact cities and see where they're at. And two things. One, I think as a city, we, for everything I know, seem to be doing well fiscally with the income that we have to be able to meet our expenses. That isn't the case in a lot of our state. And so that's great thanks to our city staff that has managed those things well. I'm very appreciative of that, and there is going to be a lot more information coming down from them about different ways that they're looking at legislation changes, all kinds of things of trying to figure out like what do we need to do, because the 3% increase to property taxes is not keeping up with inflation. That's the bottom line. And so while we may not be in that position now, we could face it at some point in time. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with and ideas that they have coming down the pipes. They did mention that they had put out calls for cities' priorities, and I don't know where that went here or if that's ever been responded to. It sounded like it came some time ago, so I hope that we can give them our thoughts on that.
Yeah.
That's it.
I just wanted to, I guess, commend everyone for all the festivals going on, sort of what Councilor Paredes said, all the volunteerism, the selfless work that's been going out there. I know we had a few, 2 weekends ago get a little wet, but people still attended and seemed to have fun even though they were soaking wet. And we are not scared of water around here, so what the heck. So thank you again to all the volunteers in our community and for keeping us lively and having fun weekends over the summer. I saw that we had a swearing in recently of a new officer, so that's exciting. Gabby, is that correct?
Yes, Gabby Dominguez.
Very nice. Of course, your official second meeting for our city manager, Tim Rendell. Hopefully you're settling in well and have a place to stretch out now. Good. Also, recently, it is, as we all know, political season, and so we've had some politicians coming through. I just want to speak to one who was very outspoken against Boehm's windmills, and that was Monique Despain. So I just wanted to say I appreciated her vocal opposition, even though she's running. She's not in a position right now. It's still nice to hear someone actually make a statement to that in a leadership role or trying to be in a leadership role. And then the only other thing really, and I wrote it, Councilor Martin had talked to the county situation, and I don't know specifics of that specific meeting or anything right now, but I do know that, and this goes to political season maybe in general, there are going to be a lot of conversations to be had, difficult conversations to be had, but I hope we can have them in a in a meaningful way, but also in a very objective manner. The situation in our county right now is obviously a difficult one. Tough choices are having to be made. So the one thing I would support in that is having the right people at the table to make those decisions. And so I do appreciate that part, that we are being included, when I say maybe the cities of the county, with the larger decision of the county leadership in helping direct where things go. We have an amazing city in Brookings, period. No doubt about that. We have an amazing police force, no doubt about that. And so, it isn't fair for our taxpayers to be paying for a police force that, is going out above and beyond, but we're all also citizens, and I know none of us would support a crime being occurring and us not helping our neighbors out across the bridge or wherever. So it is a very difficult state for the county to be in, and we also need to make sure our taxpayers get what they're paying for and that we're not covering the rest of the county, but at the same time look for a good answer, the best answer we can come out with to help our friends and neighbors, and that will require some difficult conversations, I'm sure, and some probable disagreements. But that's what it's about. It's about having that dialogue, having those disagreements, and still being able to make forward progress. So look forward to more of that. And then, it is political season in general. So as voting comes up on us in November, remember, keep the love. We're all brothers and sisters here. Don't grow to be bitter against each other in this time, because there's a lot of vitriol going on. Anyways, that's all I have. All right, if that's it, we'll adjourn at 7:47. Thank you.
The urban renewal.
We need to do urban
Yeah,
renewal.
we'll have another little piece.
Sorry.
This one will be short and sweet.
All right, we'll move right into that. Got it. I'll call to order the Urban Renewal Agency meeting for Brookings, Oregon at 7:48 p.m. on Monday, August 26th.
Okay, Director Malmberg, that's wrong. No, that's right, Director Malmberg.
Here.
Director Ferreira.
Here.
Director Martin.
Here.
Director Folsom.
Here.
Chair Hodges.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Consent calendar. This is to approve urban renewal meeting minutes for August 14th, 2023, approve urban renewal minutes for December 11th, 2023, and approve urban renewal meeting minutes for June 24th, 2024. And as a reminder, if you didn't read or if you have forgotten, Brooklyn had sent a reminder out about having to be, or attending those or not with, while moving to vote or voting on a meeting that you weren't at, and how that is acceptable. Okay, just a reminder.
I know, I got backed out of the last one. It's like, can I do that? I need to back out. There we go.
Well, I'll move to accept the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay. Director Fulton.
Yes.
Director Pareda.
Yes.
Director Malmberg.
Yes.
Director Martin.
Yes.
Chair Hopkins.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right, any agency remarks? All right, then I'll adjourn at 7:49.
I wanted to, sorry.
Oh, no.
Agency. Sorry, I didn't jump quick enough.
Okay.
I just wanted to take a minute and recognize, I guess, that, you know, we only have these urban renewal meetings every 6 months or so. And from my understanding of it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, but I believe it sunsets in 2028. Is that accurate? Yeah. So we've got, 4 years left. And it's a very valuable mechanism for us to use while we have it. And I would hope that with the time that we have remaining, that we kind of come up with some kind of a game plan on what we hope to do over the next 4 years, rather than just kind of having these meetings every 6 months and not a lot on the calendar. I really want. I did take quite a bit of time looking into the Urban Renewal Agency over the weekend and after our last workshop meeting, and I think that, there's a lot, and there's been some discussion that there's, a lot of vacant businesses in town that, for one reason or another, are closed and kind of have the potential to lead to some blight within our downtown area. And I'd like the city to reach out to some of those property owners and kind of get the inside scoop individually with each of them, and just start a dialogue and see if there's something that the city can do to encourage that success. Is there a goal to be a storage facility, or is it that they want to get going again as a business but need a little help on the whatever, permitting or facade improvement or whatever, right? These are all things that the Urban Renewal Agency can fund and was organized for. And so I just like to see us be a little bit proactive in reaching out to those individual businesses that are vacant within the urban renewal area, and just seeing if there's something that the city could partner with them on to help them to succeed. And ultimately, if it's their goal to just remain vacant, then hey, let's look at is there an opportunity for an acquisition that might benefit the city in some way? Is like a parking lot improvement or something along those lines. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Also, the discussion on the public art. That's another thing that really there's funds available within the Urban Renewal Agency to fund some of those art projects, and that'd be a pretty valuable use of some of those funds. So anyway, I guess I just don't want to wait another 6 months before we kind of talk about this very valuable tool, and I'm hoping that we can have some kind of a game plan for the next 4 years. Just don't want it to slip by. And anyway, that was my comment. So thanks. Sorry for jumping in late.
No, that's great. Thank you. Anyone else? Before I